We are back at the Business Zone with Crystal, Gilbert, and Dawn. And today we have Miss Bever-leigh Banfield here. We're having a wonderful conversation about the Blend Talk Show. And then my girl here, Miss Alisha White-Madison. She is here, the founder of the Bella Network. Last night she had a wonderful time with Mrs. Michelle Obama. And we had an incredible conference a couple weeks ago. And we're just going to blend all our talents and just have a super conversation over here. So tell me about Miss Obama, Michelle Obama.
It was phenomenal. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. So she filled the form. It was sold out.
Really?
Yes.
Great.
And the thing that was so amazing about it is that people were on time. It was packed. When she started, the place was packed. It was absolutely just, just the whole being there. My husband laughed and said, well, she did time with Oprah. She did all these different interviews. What else could she talk about? And I said to him, it didn't matter. It was just being in the room, being in her presence. All the energy that she puts out is just utterly amazing. And then to be there when she's talking and telling her story. And Tracy Ellis Ross is who interviewed her.
Yeah, I think I saw somebody. Everybody was putting pictures up on Facebook last night.
Yeah. People were doing a lot of video taping and stuff. But just the atmosphere was worth it alone. And to be in a room filled with, and there were men there. I was surprised there were a lot of men that were in the audience. Yeah.
Okay. Was it a multi?
Yeah, it was a mixed group. I mean, just in the area where we sat was mixed, and you had every ethnicity was there, and you had all different age groups, so all the generations were represented, and you had a lot of mothers with daughters and girlfriends all together, and then when it was over, to go out into the crowd, and it was like, hey, it seemed like everyone
like all home with.
Yeah, there were a lot of friends.
Oh, that sounds like so much fun.
Yeah.
And so basically, what was she talking about?
It started where they showed a video, and the video had, just from the beginning of her life. It started with when she was first born. Her brother talked about her as a kid, and then went all the way up until her time with Mr. Obama. President Obama.
Oh, he came out too?
Well, he did a lot of clips where he talked about their, relationship, or Michelle. She did a lot of talking about her mother. Mm-hmm. Her brother did a lot of talking about her and, how she was growing up. And they had these as clips.
Okay.
And,
nice.
it was really nice. It was really nice. She did a lot of talking about her mom and her dad. And it gave a lot of context to who she is as a person.
Okay.
And she talked about her education and her upbringing, of where she lived and the community that she lived in. The one thing that I was amazed with was that she mentioned that she had like a, what did she call it? It was right, how something's right on the tip of the tongue now. It was like she started hyperventilating. She had a, one of those attacks where you anxiety attacks.
Okay.
She said that, and Tracy Ellis Ross, in all her dynamics of how, expression, all her expressions, she was like, how could you have over this little thing after all the things,
really over
all the things you did? And so she told the story about how, as she was doing those things, she kept saying, this is not a big deal. So even with her girls when they were little, and when he first won, mm-hmm. and he was on the trail and doing all the different things, and the girls would go, mm-hmm. she'd tell the girls, this is not a big deal. This is normal. Don't worry about it. When you go out there, it's not a big deal.
Wow.
So she kept all throughout the 8 years trying to say, this is not a big deal. Don't look up. Don't look when you see the SWAT and all. Don't worry about that. That's not for you. She kept saying her main thing was, that's not for you. So don't worry about this stuff. And so now that it's all over and done, she said it was just all this anxiety of, what am I going to talk about? Who's going to care? Who would show up? And it's, we're thinking, what do you mean who would show up? But she said in her head, it just seemed like, who's going to pay for this? Is the room going to be filled? Is anybody going to care about my story?
Well, I guess I could see that in a sense, because as the First Lady, they're going to show up because you're already guaranteed an audience, right?
Right.
It's like being an actress. You're never sure, or even us when we have an event, you're never sure who's going to show at the door, right?
You're never sure, but you have to project that.
Right.
You have to imagine that it's going to, you have to believe that everything's going to be all right. And it's great. They say that you're not really brave unless you have some level of fear. I'm not a fearful person, but the thing is, to be somebody who is a big person, you have to have those struggles. You have to, well, who was it that said feel the fear and do it anyway?
Uh-huh.
And that's part of the whole thing, That's part of what we've been talking about for the audience, It's like feel the fear, do it anyway.
Right.
It's not a big deal. Just do it. You make a mistake, you learn from the mistake. You don't make a mistake, you take a step forward. If you take a step back, okay, that's fine. You just get up, dust yourself off, and you keep going.
Yeah. Have you ever done live performances?
Oh, yeah. That's what I was saying about when I was on Broadway.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. But you're so excited and you're so in your zone that it's not a fearful thing. It's just a feeling of giving your gift. You're there. You're doing what you're meant to do. We were talking about being on your purpose, and you're doing what you're meant to do. It's like we're doing the show now. It's like you being a corporate person. It's like you being on the air and guiding people.
Right.
It's when you know that it's what you're meant to do, and God gives you that gift, you just want to share that gift.
Right.
Yeah, I think.
And then you've done a lot of practicing too. So, that was one of the things that she said, because they said, how is it you're so eloquent when you get up there to do your speeches? She goes, that speech came with a lot of practice.
And the mom thing too.
Yeah.
Right.
And everything else. And the first lady thing.
Yeah. Or the first lady especially. Talk about being thrown into the pits of the fire, and especially with the fact that people, had a problem with their color. And remember, and it's so amazing, just, what was that, 4 years or 8 years ago or whatever it was, 6 years ago, with her, she'd come up in her arms, everybody wanted Michelle Obama arms, and she had the short sleeves.
And Dawn has them.
Dawn has them. Yeah, Dawn has them. And they would make comments about her arms. Yeah. Now you got the new first lady, and you have no comments about the fact her whole darn body's been on Facebook. So it's kind of interesting to be in a fishbowl, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they showed a lot of the pictures that were, not complimentary of her, and some of the magazine covers that weren't complimentary, and they showed clips of her with that angry look or fussing at somebody. And so, yeah, she talked a lot about that. And how she felt and how she had to go high.
Yeah.
So, and she said there were many days when she knew she could have taken everything down with 3 words or 3 sentences.
Right. And there's no first lady school.
Yeah.
It's not like they put you,
First
you're going to go in for a few
school.
years. Yeah.
There's Franklin Covering School.
You can't go on YouTube and find that. You know what I mean?
That's true. There is no first lady
that space.
Yeah. So that I mean, it hurt me to hear those things about her and to be her and have to go through that. Right. And then to have to be nice to the people that said it,
Right, exactly. Or like you say, take the high road.
Yeah.
That you have to pretend like none of that hurts you.
Right.
And to be on camera and smile all the time. And, a lot of even with actors, when they go back to read their reviews, depending on how thick-skinned they are,
right,
some of them can't handle the reviews.
Well, the thing about it is you can't be, as a performer, you can't be thick-skinned because our emotions are our stock and trade. That's our toolbox.
Right.
So the minute that you turn off your emotions, you don't have a job anymore. You don't have a skill anymore. Yeah. So you just have to take it and get. But it's like you were saying that Michelle Obama said, was that you don't own that. Yeah. That's somebody else's. If somebody wants to call you out of your name or somebody approaches you in a way that's disrespectful, that's not you. That's them. That's their spirit, their mind, and their body. Just like on them, that's their blend.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't have to take that on. You don't have to own it. And
you don't have to give over your happiness to them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think that was probably the best thing about them, was they didn't give over their happiness or who they were to anybody, with all the comments and knowing that they weren't well received. Just even in the White House, they weren't well received. And to bring your children into that
fray,
that place, that would be rough. And even, I'm not married, but I do know with my friends and family, if somebody's talking about them, it would take everything I had not to punch somebody in their head.
It's very difficult.
Right,
it's almost worse to have somebody talk about. I mean, it does. You feel a lot more defensive of your loved ones than you feel of yourself.
Right, exactly. And did she talk about that?
She talked about that. She talked about a lot of things.
Okay.
I mean, she hit on that. She hit on the fact that Barack would have to say, President Barack would have to say to her, "Fix your face." And they had little under the table things where he would give her fix the face hit, you know.
Especially when somebody would say something, she would have to, I can see that.
What's that song? It's written all
over your face.
You don't have to say a word.
But she talked about the hard part was they would do like the Christmas parties for all the senators and everything.
Right.
And they'd have the lineup where they would greet everybody. And you do the photo shoot with everybody. And she'd say, like, this person just called me something out of my name. And then the next day you're standing there, having to do that camera shoot with them. Yeah, so.
That's tough.
But she had training when she talked about her upbringing. She, her whole life prepared her for that moment, for those 8 years.
When you think about it, though, everything, sometimes I get in a situation where I have to use a lot of skills. I have to learn a lot of new skills, and I'm doing something new, and I have to go in a different direction. And I think to myself, oh, my goodness, thank you, God. Thanks to my parents, thanks to everyone, all my ancestors, that I've had the opportunity to learn the things that I have learned, because it seems like, especially nowadays, you have to use every single thing that you have ever learned for almost every task, because things go so quickly. Everything's moved so fast. Everything changes. Right. And you just have to, like you were saying, you have to reinvent yourself. You have to start thinking in different ways. You have to start picking up skills and reaching back to whenever you had something that was similar. Yeah. And you could bring something to bear,
And that's because before you got here, Alisha, this morning I was at a, I guess it was like a think tank, and we were talking about the future of the workforce in the LA Basin. And one of I think is the HR, let's see, there's a couple of people from Jenny Wade.
Oh, Jeannie, she's she's over our sector, the vice president of our sector.
Right. So she was on the first panel, and they were talking about, what type of, the social capital, the people that you have to hire. And she was, and then there was another young lady from a car, they're creating and developing electric cars, but not just like Tesla, but a kind of a car system where you can go rent the car or lease the car for the week. And then if you don't need the two cars for the weekend, you can turn one back in.
It's not just sitting.
Right. It's like with the bicycles.
Right, exactly. Or those scooters that are running around. So they were talking about that. But one of the things they were saying is that those of us or the school, and it was a lot of chancellors from community colleges as well as the president from Cal Poly, and they were saying how the schools are preparing our children for degrees, but not preparing them to work. Right.
Oh, I've been saying that for years.
Right. And so now they realize that those schools have to partner up with the employers and workforce programs so that we can better prepare our kids for work, because they were saying that right now in Los Angeles that the people that are actually working, so they say that unemployment is low, it is for those that have degrees. Right. But for those who didn't have degrees, especially here in Los Angeles, they've left the state because their jobs are not available and they don't have the new skill sets. They haven't retooled in order to be viable in this marketplace. And so we've lost a huge percentage of workers who may have only AA degree, which is not you have to have a BA degree, and now it's a master's degree, a doctorate. And I have friends that have masters, have gone back to school, and it didn't help them at all.
Yeah. And now that a lot of the companies are saying they're not even expecting you to have a degree anymore, it just seems like, well, wait a minute. Now you're wanting me to compete with people who don't have any degree, and I did all this for my degree. So it's going from
It's all
both
about the
ends.
skill set now.
It's all about the skill set.
So you have to hone your skill set for exactly what you want to do in life.
Right.
And keep honing it.
But you're really right in that schools don't teach you how to problem solve and how to think. They teach you how to read a book and then do maybe some analysis, but they're really not setting you up for the whole thought process that's required in corporate America or for a business.
Right. And to grow, because you don't have those critical thinking skills. You know, like if you started out as an actress, but you've honed and kept elevating and retooling to a place where a producer and writer and so forth. So you kept adding to your bag of tricks or your tool set, right?
And you also have to see what's relevant. Where different avenues that you can go in so you can have different income streams, because originally I started out, I was going to be the next Helen Gurley Brown. I was just going to write, and then I started acting, and then I started doing voiceover off of acting. Then I got out there and I realized, well, I want to write, so how do I mix those two things, writing and acting? So I started doing articles for magazines with people that I was working with. So I started doing celebrity interviews and articles and those types of things. That was another whole thing. Now I've written a book because I'm speaking, so I've written a book called You Can Change the World. So there are all kinds of ways that you can take, once you develop a skill set and you continue to heighten it and put more tools in your toolkit, then you can find different avenues for your skills, because it's all the same thing. It's all the one you. But you can find different ways of manifesting that and getting your message out in different ways.
Which is important, because you've evolved from where you first started into the work world, right? You were a chemist. Now, are you not really working that particular skill, are you?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So originally I was pre-med, and so I have a chemistry degree as my background, but for pre-med. And then I went and got my business MBA. And from there, it was just, and I worked in different industries. So my transitioning into different industries and then transitioning into different roles, I started out, on the business side within supply chain. And then I ended up with mergers and acquisitions and actually a problem solving, so I do a lot of problem solving.
Right, which is all transferable skills. So that's something that we were talking about, having skills that you can transfer over into different industries. Now, in the industry, the acting industry, a lot of women say they reach a plateau. And that as you age into the industry, you can age yourself right on out of the industry, because they're always looking for younger and better and so forth.
Well, that's where reinventing comes in.
Right.
Tell that to Patti LaBelle.
Yeah, right,
going in to buy one of her pies for Thanksgiving. And you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. You have to take what you have and just maximize it all the time. Like you're saying, mergers and acquisitions and chemistry. And then you'll find sometimes that you'll loop back.
Yeah.
An opportunity will come up and you'll loop back and you'll get reinterested in something, or a new opportunity will come up because you still got those skills. Right. That's why I think it's funny when people say that they're a former this or they're a former that, because why are you former? That's still part of you.
Right.
Yeah. That's still something.
You're
like
leveraging
I said,
that knowledge.
Exactly. And you can use that on the next step. You never know what the next step is going to be. You just know that you're going to keep going forward and keep going forward and keep developing. And that's what we talk about so much on the show is transforming yourself. That being the goal, to be in the constant process of transformation for the better, whether that be with your body to get healthier and healthier and healthier, or whether that be with your mind so that you don't have things controlling you that you don't even realize are controlling you, and you are putting limits on yourself and that kind of thing that aren't really there. And that also your spirit, that you're constantly uplifting yourself. You're getting closer to your higher power.
Yeah.
Right,
so you're being
exactly.
exposed to different things, so that
right. And even for and one of the things they were talking about this morning was, you go to school and maybe your passion is history and you're a history major, right? So they say when the kid, the person gets to school, they don't say, okay, you have this skill. Let's see where you could, how that would fit in the work world, because that's where the basis of your passion is.
Right.
So, and then thinking, wow, you could work in the entertainment industry, because if you got a period pieces, you need to have somebody that's very knowledgeable, that's read a lot about history, and even timelines, because that's what history is about. Timelines for how this took place here and then evolved to here, to here, to here. So that's what one of the things they were saying. We're not helping them see, if I have a literal arts degree, how does that really work in the public sector? Mm-hmm. How do you really get a job from that? And our kids are not taught that. Because, our children are very linear.
Well, see, here's the issue. School hasn't changed.
No.
In the last, 60 some years, it has not changed.
Right.
But industry has changed. Business has changed. What's going on with technology has changed. So what we're teaching in schools continues to be the same thing, mm-hmm. but what we're expecting to come out and have them leverage is totally different. And so the schools aren't growing with opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what's nice about today, is that you can grow your own brand. You invent yourself, mm-hmm. and you take from wherever you get it, wherever you find knowledge, whether it be a mentor, whether it be online, whether it be something you did learn in school because you happen to have a fantastic teacher, whether you just self-educate by going to the library mm-hmm. or downloading things or whatever it is, and then you develop your brand. You look inside and you see who you are and where your passion lies. Mm-hmm. And then you develop your own brand and you do what you want to do to give your gift.
Exactly.
And that's easier said than done.
Right.
But it's easier if you have examples of other people doing that. And so that's why I think it's really important within our culture or within certain groups that we make sure that those examples show up to help our kids to see and visualize what they could do and how they could dream bigger and how they could, and so when you say YouTube, that really helps that happen, because if they go in now, instead of that person being, face to face with them, they can leverage that tool to get exposure to things that they may not see in their community.
And that's what it all goes back to, the Obamas.
Yeah.
It all goes back to inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
It all goes back to people seeing themselves as well.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so wonderful now that we have shows like our show. We have shows like your show. We have you coming on different places, and people can see, I can be a chemist. I could be, something in science, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because when you don't see yourself reflected and all you see is people who don't look like you out there, then you don't tend to dream in those kinds of terms. But when people see themselves, and that's the great thing now about all the YA writers that are out there now, mm-hmm. and you can go in the store, you're a little black girl, you go in the store and you see books and they have you on the cover. Yeah. You watch TV now, you could see you on TV. Mm-hmm. Whereas, maybe when we were coming up, my parents had to hunt for black dolls. Had to even hunt for the black doll.
Right, exactly.
Or even just what opportunities are available. I mean, because we're so used to them being, doctor, lawyer, teacher, scientist, but there's so many opportunities that you could take advantage of. There's so many different types of careers now that are happening that are actually really fun. I mean, even just if you think about some of the technology companies, those jobs didn't exist.
No.
A few years ago. They didn't exist at all.
Mm-mm.
And so, I mean, all the different types of roles that you can take on in either a corporation or as an entrepreneur are just, it's open to you now.
Whereas
before it was just like, you started a real estate, or you started catering, or you did hair, or you don't have to do any of those things anymore.
Right. And
There's so
what's that saying?
If
you do what you love, you never work a day in your life.
Exactly. Because because when you were a kid, your parents would, lawyer, doctor, teacher, nurse, depending on how you grew up and the type of structure your family had. It was limited. So if you were in a middle class family, you're going to be a teacher, you're going to work for some governmental offices, so forth. And then if you came from a more upper echelon, doctor, lawyer, because they can afford to send you to school there. Now, and that was one of the things they were talking about today. You can go in and get a 4, 6 week, 8 week, 12 week certificate and start working tomorrow in the industry or anywhere you wanted to go. Making
a lot of money.
Making a lot of money.
Into the STEMs.
Because I think you can go go behind the scenes in the entertainment industry. So if you go to West LA College, and I think Santa Monica now has a media program, you can come out with your certificate and go work for one of the studios starting at $70-something thousand and be 25 years old.
And you actually have the skills you need for that particular job. Like we were talking before, you might go to some school and then be totally unprepared for what happens to you in the workplace, because the workplace has specific sets of skills. Right. And then also you have to have people skills. Yeah. There are certain things that you have to know how to do, even personality-wise, that people don't teach you in school.
Right, exactly. In fact, one of the panelists was saying that a number of years ago, it was a guy, the president or the VP for Udemy, which is an online learning platform. He said they partnered up with AT&T, and so AT&T had a meeting with their employees, and he says, so here's what's going to happen. You're either going to change your skill sets or you're not going to be with us anymore, because AT&T is changing.
Well, that's motivation.
And so they partnered up with them so that they could create these nano degrees so that they could change. Yeah. Because the old AT&T with the live dial-up phone doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. Who has you may have a phone, but that's not what they're pushing.
But you know what I see other companies doing too is that traditional aspect of you got opportunity just because somebody said, oh, here's a nice person, give them opportunity. It's no longer working in corporate America because they're realizing they're wasting a lot of money giving people opportunity that don't have the right skill set, don't have the right people skills for certain roles, especially management roles. And so now they're creating this online review that you have to take the test to see would you make a good manager. And if you don't pass that test, then you may not get that opportunity. So they're starting to screen people versus just saying, oh, VP so-and-so said give John the job.
Right.
Now John has to prove that he has the right skill set to do the job before he gets it. Yeah.
And it was like that book years ago. That's an old book. It's like a classic now, The Peter Principle,
where
people would get promoted beyond their level of competence.
Right.
And you don't ever want
strengths.
anybody to be able to say that about you, because like we were talking about YouTube, but we were talking about free books in the library, all kinds of resources. You should never be in a position where you don't know what you're doing for that particular job, because you can always find out.
Yeah.
It's like when you go into an audition sometimes, people say, can you fly? And you say, yes, I can fly. And then you go out and you learn how to fly.
Right. Exactly.
You know?
Or like the man in the White House. Yeah, I can be the president.
Yeah. Well, that's going in kind of a different way.
Without the skill set. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Hello. Meet Larry. Larry is a general contractor. Larry is very good at his craft, but Larry has a very tough time managing his paperwork because he is busy taking care of his clients' needs. Larry just cannot find his important business documents when needed. Larry is also being passed over for bid opportunities from prime contractors because he is perceived as not ready. He doesn't know where his business license, certifications, insurance, and other key corporate documents are located most of the time. Lucy owns an auto body and collision repair shop and has been using a business management and procurement assistance program called Small Biz Pro to keep her business organized, business ready, contract ready, and bank loan ready. Small Biz Pro is a 3-in-1 cloud-based business management, procurement, and market research assistance system designed to help businesses become business ready, contract ready, and bank loan ready. It also provides back-office operation solutions for small businesses. Lucy is able to stay ahead of her competitors because she uses Small Biz Pro to manage her business daily. Lucy just clicks on Small Biz Pro from her tablet, mobile phone, laptop, or any internet-accessible device for data retrieval, and she's got it. Lucy introduces Larry to Small Biz Pro, and now Larry is more organized and can now find all of his documents and new bid opportunities in seconds. Larry now saves $120 in labor costs for each missing or misplaced document. Just simply go to your web browser and log into smallbizpro.net and register today for a limited 30-day free trial offer. Services start as low as $1 per day. Let's put the competition out of business. Small Biz Pro. If you stay ready, you don't need to get ready. Register now at smallbizpro.net and begin saving money. Email info@smallbizpro.net or call 626-533-1186.
And we are back. You are tuned into the Business Zone with Crystal, Gilbert, and Don. And today only Crystal is here because Don and Gilbert are out doing some, working towards some deadlines for some projects that they have coming up next year. But we have Miss Alisha White Madison, and we have Bever-leigh Banfield here, and we're having a great conversation.
Sure are. We're having a
about
great time.
Retooling and reskilling and just being the best that we can be.
Yep.
So, Alisha, so Beverly has never heard of the Bella Network. Why don't you give her a little taste of and tell her what the Bella about?
Okay, then.
So the Bella Network was founded on the premise that as women, we need to make sure that we have strong relationships that will help improve our business and empower us in whatever endeavors we have. And so what we're looking to do is find entrepreneurs, find corporate women, find women that may be transitioning from one to the other, or women that are at the end of their career and they just want to help support, mentor, and coach other women. But the concept is to make sure that we are strategically connected so that we can support, advocate, and empower each other.
Well, that's fabulous.
Yeah.
You know, because
So
that's
it's
what
a
they
tribe.
say. They say that's the difference between us as people and animals, is that we have cumulative learning.
Yes.
So if we use that proactively, so that we do mentor each other, and so that we do, mentor younger women, but also each other on a peer level, because peer learning is just such an organic, visceral thing when you're with somebody who's got the same level of experience and that kind of thing, except they've got another skill set, or they've got another way of looking at things, or they've gone into the world in a different way and participated in the world in a different way, professionally, or even as a mother, or as a wife, or in whatever role they've gone in. That's such a powerful thing, and a lot of us feel like we're out, many of us feel we're out there alone.
Yeah.
So the Bella Network, that is fantastic, because that's a place that we can go.
Our tagline is, behind every successful woman is a tribe of other successful women that have her back.
Nice.
And, the concept is that you can't really go alone. Nobody makes it to the top alone. You have to have people that are in your corner, that are pulling for you. When you're not able to be in the room, they're in the room for you. They share information. They share about you. And so it's just a movement of making sure that we have the right access and we have the right
That's how we feel,
connection.
too. It's like we call it the blend movement.
The blend, yes.
Because it's great. We get all of these women who have done all of these unbelievable things in their lives. Yeah. And they may have gone unheralded, you know what I mean? When you're an actress, or when you're in any kind of mode where you're in the media in some kind of way, like you're in the media, or you get out there and you're doing things, people see you. But there are so many women every day doing these unbelievable things. We had a woman named Charisse Bremond on the show just Wednesday, day before yesterday, that taped, and she's got the Brotherhood Crusade.
Oh, okay.
And she has taken over, despite the fact she has two brothers, she's the one who took over her father's legacy
she's
because
powerful.
he started it. Isn't she powerful? And she's so beautiful, and she's so humble,
very humble,
and so beautiful, and so effective in the world. And that's one of the beautiful things about the show, is that we get to meet these women and showcase women who are doing such magnificent things in their communities and in their businesses and just in the world, really world-changing things. And yet we don't know about each other.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And
we don't meet each other every day.
Right, because unless you're like you or sitting here, and I was just saying that to your co-worker Tara today, I said, especially when entrepreneurs tend to toot their own horn because it's just the nature. Nobody will know what you do.
Right,
and
that's
don't,
your brand.
who will?
That's your brand, right? So, and
Yeah.
actresses, that's your brand.
That's your brand.
Yeah, you're tooting. But those of you that are in corporate America doing some powerful things, which is what's the most impressive thing about the Bella Network, is there's some women there that have been in the engineering field doing just some awesome stuff. What's the young lady, Theta? That's
Dixon.
got stuff in the...
Yeah, we've had people with a lot of patents that are going on. I mean, people that are doing amazing things that could actually benefit some of our entrepreneurs, and we don't know about them.
Exactly.
And the thing that we really focus on is that, we applaud the first woman to do this and the first woman to do that. But then you look around and where's the second? Where's the third? Where's the fourth? And it's because it's a lot of work to be the first. It's a lot of work to stay relevant and to do all that work. And you don't have time to go searching for that person that you could mentor and train or coach. And so the Bella Network wants to help you make those connections and find those people so that we can then create that succession plan of the second and the third and people that are lined up to take on those roles.
Yeah, because once you open that door, you have to kick. Sometimes you have to kick and scream and knock.
But you got to keep it open.
That's right.
Yeah, you got to pry it
get it
open.
open. You want.
Yeah,
you
but
want
it's
as many girls to come in behind you, and it is a lot of work. But the thing is, there is a joy in it, because when you're on your purpose, and when you know this is what you're meant to do, it is a lot of work. It can be tiring. It can exhaust you physically. It can exhaust you emotionally. It can really take everything that you have to bring to bear to make it work. But then at the same time, when you see it manifest, it's like that's the wonderful thing about being a director and a producer. You get these ideas. It's like this was Lavanda's idea to begin with, and then I bring ideas about how to manifest this, and and then I write, and then I direct, and then the ladies bring their ideas and their expertise, and it's just a beautiful thing. It's a creative process. No matter whether you're being an astronaut or whatever you're doing, you're cooking, that's the creative process. And though it is tiring, there is something so beautiful and so energizing and so uplifting about having an idea and seeing it come to life.
Yeah. But the one thing that we focus on too is there's these things called missteps. So you could have a passion and make a misstep and your passion is wiped out. It doesn't even matter because you've created a situation where, especially in corporate America, you could be blackballed. In the entertainment industry, you get blackballed because you did something, said something, projected something that was not appropriate, and it ruins you. And a lot of times, if you're not told what's inappropriate, you don't even know that you're doing it. So, when we go and tell people, just as long as you're passionate, you're great. No, you can make a misstep in corporate America and you're done. It's over. And so what I'm getting at is the important part is somebody has to teach you so you avoid those missteps.
Yeah. Right, out of the box. But the thing is, you're not, to our mind, you're never done. Because no matter how anything happens to, we had this great show, and we had Les Brown, the speaker on there, and he's a comeback kid.
Yeah.
Because he was literally abandoned as a baby, and look who he is now. I mean, plus he had cancer. He has had everything to happen. He lost the love of his life at the same time, and then his father died. I mean, it was like everything happened to him, and he thought that, okay, it's just done.
Right, it's over. I'm done.
Like Fred Sanford.
Elizabeth,
I'm coming, Elizabeth. He just thought, okay, that's that. But the thing is, that's the beautiful thing about still being alive and still being able to dream. And like you were saying, reinventing yourself and believing and knowing that you're never done. No matter what happens, you still have another chance. When the sun comes up in the morning, you still have God, you still have yourself, you have ideas, if you have your health, you have all these things. And what you learned, most importantly, what you learned from those mistakes. Because mistakes are going to happen. You're going to have the missteps. You're going to step down in holes. You're going to... Hopefully, you can then show other people, oh, look, there's a hole there,
right,
which is the Bella Network.
That's the
there's
whole
a hole there. Don't step in that.
That's the whole point, is that teaching people to avoid those missteps. So it's not about life happening. It's about you, especially in corporate America, may do something that's inappropriate for the environment, or you don't have the right skill set for something that you're supposed to do, but somebody could tell you or teach you. And so that's what the Bella Network is, to make sure you avoid those missteps. Not life occurrence. I mean, you're having your parent die, that's a life occurrence.
Yeah, that is.
That's not a misstep.
But even your mistakes, when you do have those missteps, you just have to know. You pick yourself
somebody
up,
has
as
to
Les
help
Brown
you know.
said, pick yourself up, dust yourself
right,
up.
exactly. And if you have that tribe, they can help guide you through that. And even as an entrepreneur, when I first started out as an entrepreneur 30-something years ago, when I left corporate America, all my friends were still working corporate America, and they're like, what are you about to do? And why would you leave benefits and all that sort of stuff and to go out there and have the unknown? I was like, but this is where I'm being guided. Right. This is the passion. I've prepared for this, and I had very strategic steps on making that happen. Right, so. My mom was like, "Oh no, you gotta have benefits." No, if I'm making money, I can buy my own benefits. But I do. One of the reasons I started teaching was because of that. Because there were other people coming behind me, like, "Oh, well, she stepped out there." So I had some friends like, "Well, I have an idea. Okay, so let me tell you." Don't step in this pit hole. Don't step, because I had to learn the hard way. There was nobody I could reach out to, no mentor at that time that was doing it. And so that was really the reasons I started training.
Well, you know what? Now that you're saying that, I'm now realizing how much that is the case, because that's Dr. Gloria's on the show, Dr. Gloria Chance. That's her whole story. Yeah. She was this big tech maven in Silicon Valley.
Okay.
And one day she said, you know what? I'm not feeling this. I'm not getting up in the morning every morning and going into work with a grin and thrilled to be doing what I'm doing and with whom I'm doing it. Where is this going? This is my life that I'm living. So it just points up how many of us may have had that experience, and how you have to be aware. You always have to stay aware of where you are.
Right.
You have to know what you want. Right. You have to consider yourself. You have to look where you're going. You know, even if it's in a relationship. Some people will say, I was talking to somebody just yesterday, and she was saying that she had stayed in her relationship for like 10 years too long.
For the security.
Because she just wasn't, exactly, because that's what she was used to, and she just wasn't looking where she was going. She wasn't being conscious. And that's not to say throw away relationships, but that's just simply to say, look where you're going and be there and make sure that's the path that you want to take. And the minute you have an inkling, stay aware. Be inside yourself and stay aware. And the minute you see that this is not the path you want to be on, make a turn.
I mean, can you imagine all that women, black women, or just women could have accomplished if they didn't have to hold back, you know, to maintain that security? You know, when we talk about, I was watching a show and there were a bunch of women that had been raped or molested at one of the colleges. And a lot of them had backed away from technology because it was a man's world, and they didn't feel comfortable, and they had had a bad experience. And so just imagine all the different women that we've lost out on because
Right.
They stayed comfortable in corporate America, and so they didn't venture out and start that new business.
Right.
Because they didn't have that tribe behind them saying, hey, we're going to support you. We'll empower you. We're going to give you the tools you need. We're going to open the right doors for you. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're trying to avoid.
That's what we're saying now with the bees. We're saying at the blend, we're looking right out there and telling you right now. At the blend, at the Bella Network,
the business zone.
The business,
the bees,
all the bees. My name is Bever-leigh Banfield, so you know I'm advocating for the bees.
But that's what's so amazing right now.
As a bee.
Yeah.
And know who you are more and more. Get to know yourself. Get into self-care. Find out where you are and see where you're going, and be who you want to be and do what you want to do, because there's something you are meant to do.
Right.
And there's someone you are meant to be. Be that person. And that doesn't mean, just throw down tomorrow, but get your plan together. If you see I have to make a turn here, it's like when you're driving your car.
Right. You have to have
you don't slam on the brakes, right when you hit the line.
Yeah. And before you get to and before you set a destination, you go look at your Waze, your Google map. You map it out before you navigate it, and you map it out before you get there.
And you dream about what it's like. You get your little bathing suit if you want to take a vacation.
But just imagine if we could impact mothers, we already got the kids. Our community, we do a lot of focus on the youth. But just imagine if we changed one mother, how many youth we would impact immediately.
Yeah, because that one mother may have how many other kids. Yeah. And that mother may also be a teacher.
Yeah.
And that mother may also be an actor, may also be a person on the radio.
So then when you teach those youth, they go home to a mother who's supportive of what you taught because they're learning it too, or they're using it already.
And that's actually kind of interesting. Candace says she loves the Bella Network. Thank you, Candace. We love you as well. All that
go,
more
Candace,
boutique.
Go.
But that's exactly what happens a lot when I teach a entrepreneur camp in the summertime, biz camp, and I teach kids how to become entrepreneurs. So the kids that go home and they've got all these activities and this theory and then applied activities so that they can really embrace the concepts that I'm teaching. So they'll go home and they'll tell their mothers and they're like, and the mom is watching over a 3-week period, their children evolving into other people that they didn't even know. I've had mothers sitting in after the kids project it, so they do a pitch like Shark Tank. Mm-hmm. So afterwards, and I'm looking at the parents in the audience, and tears are coming down their eyes because they had no idea that their children had that capability. And then they're like, well, maybe I can do that. So I always get, well, do you guys teach adults how to do this? I do. I teach you. I have this idea. I've always had this idea. And, as women, especially as mother women, you're always innovative, right? Because I remember my mom, I used to say, Mom, you can take a dime and you can twist it this way, that way, this way, and take care of us, and we don't even know we poor.
My dad used to...
She should be the controller at a major corporation.
My dad used to always be telling my mother, you know what? You've spent that same $20 3 times now.
Right, exactly. Right, so they do moms do some amazing things, right? When we were growing, and especially black moms.
Yeah.
They had little to work with. They had, nobody was working in accordance with them. Everybody was working against them. A lot of times they weren't close enough. They didn't have a network.
Right.
I mean, my mom moved away from her family. Everybody lived in the South, and just her brothers lived in the North, which is what we were in New York, upstate New York. So she had 1 or 2 sister friends, but basically she was doing herself. And and a lot of our women do things. So it's nice for them to know you do have a tribe.
Right.
You do have a group of women. You can turn into the the blend, and the conversation is a conversation that you can relate to. And I think that's why it's so important for us as people of color to be speaking to other people of color and giving them that information, because you can relate from people who are sharing your story.
We all need that nourishment.
Right.
And I think that's a fantastic thing that you were saying about the entrepreneur camp because we need to know from a very early age, we are all entrepreneurs. If you're in the corporate world, there's no sense in you thinking that you're just a part of a cog in a machine. Right. Because you may be a cog in another machine in 10 minutes.
Right.
You may be out on your own in 10 minutes. Yeah. You can be downsized. You can be what? If you're an actor, you better know you have a business. Right. And so you better see what your income streams are. If you're on the radio, just like you are now, you know you better be on Facebook, you better be on the radio, you better be able to see all the... So we're all entrepreneurs at the end of the day if we're going to be successful, because no matter if we're working for somebody else, we're still working for ourselves.
Well, you are your business. You are your brand. And so as part of corporate America, I'm continuously having to manage me as a business for my next opportunity, my next role, my next promotion. So I love that. Right. And so I think as a person in corporate America, you have to see yourself as your own business.
That's what's so nice about your entrepreneur thing.
Yeah.
Because that's for everybody. I don't care if you're a doctor. You have to have your business rolling.
Everybody.
If you're a lawyer, you have to get clients. You have to know how to build your brand. You have to have all of those skills. So it's wonderful because that's for every single body. That's just not for people who consider themselves, I'm starting this business and then I'm going to start this business, which is what people normally think of as an entrepreneur. But we are all entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Right. And one of the things, going back to something Crystal said about retooling ourselves, as Black women, a lot of us have children. And so that, in some sense, that kind of holds us back from attending workshops or going to sessions because it's like, what are we going to do with the kids? And so I think as a community, we need to figure that out.
Yes, I agree.
Because that's a bad excuse for not showing up and participating. And so, even with the Bella Network, we have to start finding ways for women to show up with their kids.
And here's the thing, and that's why this is so important, is one of the things I've found over the years, especially because I've worked with kids for majority of all my adult life, what happens with moms is, and I'm not a mom, and Alicia's not. Are you a mom?
I'm not a mom.
Okay. So
I'm not a million times over.
Right. We help others, and I'm a mom by extension, but not physically, right? But one of the things that we have in common is we put ourselves first, right? So, but one of the things with women that are moms, which is the majority of the population are moms, they put everybody before everybody's needs. I remember my sister is good for this, and I'm always telling her, it's like, you first, then them. Got to put the mask on you first. That's why they say that, right? So I remember we went camping we went to the mountains. We took the kids to go skiing. And so we get up there, and she'll probably kill me when she sees this, but we get there. She had packed everybody's bag, her husband, the boys, and she forgot her underwear.
She didn't have a toothbrush.
No underwear. She forgot the
But you know what? It's not even just moms.
Right, exactly.
It's
women.
All of us women
right.
in general. Because we have, even if you don't have kids, you might have parents getting older.
Right, exactly.
You might have a brother or a sister that needs some kind of assistance that you will think about every single body else. And then sometimes you'll even feel guilty in that one moment. That's why we talk about on the show a lot, on the blend.
Oh yeah, women have they feel so guilty.
Michelle Obama talked about that in great detail, and she talked about, especially when she was going through the shots to get pregnant, how unfair it was because the whole burden fell on her. Right. And then after they had the kids, the whole burden fell on her. And she said, Barack's life didn't change.
Right.
He still kept doing what he was doing.
His body didn't change.
Yeah, nothing changed.
Maybe he got a little less sleep.
Yeah, and she said that was when they first had to go to counseling because she got angry that nothing was changing for him.
Right. And on top of that, the girls came out looking like him.
Yeah.
Like he did all the work.
Right, exactly. My sister says that all the time. My boys don't look nothing like me, and I did all the work.
Well, that's okay. At least he had to save up to be our president, so that's good. He was saving up.
But she's absolutely right. Your life as a woman, we change. Actually, we change every decade.
Right.
Right? Because even after we have our children, and then our kids grow up. So right now, all your focus is on the children. And for that, and from babies until they're 18 and they go away to school, even when they're gone away to school. Then after that, you are like, okay, now they're gone. My life has changed again. What am I supposed to do with this empty time? Yeah. I don't have anybody I can care for. So then you go through some major stuff, right?
But some of the women that I know that are at the top of their game, they will say things like, well, I put myself first because I wanted my daughters to learn the lesson to put themselves first. So it was an educational thing. And Michelle said this. She said that out of the counseling, she learned that she didn't wait for Barack to serve dinner and have the girls learn the lesson of, well, we got to wait for Daddy before you can eat, or you have to wait for Daddy before we can enjoy this. Daddy was just, maybe he got to enjoy it with us, maybe not. And so she's, so that's something we as mothers, or mothers, but mothers have to learn that you're demonstrating something to your children, and is that the lesson you want them to learn?
And also as leaders.
As leaders.
We're leaders in the workplace. We're leaders in the community. We're just leaders, period. We're on the show. We're at this point, we're stepping into the vanguard. We're getting out there and saying, okay, we have a certain amount of knowledge, we have a certain amount of wisdom that we can share. And so we want to get out there and lead at a certain point. You know what I mean? We have this and we want to share it. And as leaders, you have to be able to do that. You have to know when to delegate. You have to know what priorities are. And you have to have your own spirit and your own body and your own mind straight before you can pass any of those things on. It's like you were saying with the airplane thing. We say, my friends and I say that all the time, you have to put on your life vest before you put on the other one, because when you think about it, nobody else is going to thrive. If you fall down, anybody dependent upon you is going to thrive. And it's a shame that sometimes we have to put it to ourselves that way. But if that's what we have to tell ourselves in order to get involved with self-care, exactly.
Right, we have to do that. And think about it right now, and we're going to take a quick break, but think about the women look how many women were elected to office in this midterm, right? And I'm
so happy and proud.
Right, this is just amazing stuff in young women and Muslim women and just every walk of life, because now that represents who we are. But what I love best about it is that women have, just like you just said, we have more invested. We have more skin in the game to make sure that this is a better world. If there's children that are an extension that you gave birth to, you can't leave and leave them to this. So women have more to gain because they have their legacies, which is their children, to make sure that this is a better world. So I really, truly think where we are right now, all that we're doing, the Blend, the Bella Network, the Business Zone,
the bees, the busy bees,
is because, and the women that were elected is because this is going to change because of women.
Yes.
Right? And we're going to work together to make sure, and it's going to bring the love back.
Yes.
It's going to be the love back. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and talk about that.
Come on back.
Yeah.
Hello, meet Larry. Larry is a general contractor. Larry is very good at his craft, but Larry has a very tough time managing his paperwork because he is busy taking care of his clients' needs. Larry just cannot find his important business documents when needed. Larry is also being passed over for bid opportunities from prime contractors because he is perceived as not ready. He doesn't know where his business license, certifications, insurance, and other key corporate documents are located most of the time. Lucy owns an auto body and collision repair shop and has been using a business management and procurement assistance program called Small Biz Pro to keep her business organized, business ready, contract ready, and bank loan ready. Small Biz Pro is a 3-in-1 cloud-based business management, procurement, and market research assistance system designed to help businesses become business ready, contract ready, and bank loan ready. It also provides back-office operation solutions for small businesses. Lucy is able to stay ahead of her competitors because she uses Small Biz Pro to manage her business daily. Lucy just clicks on Small Biz Pro from her tablet, mobile phone, laptop, or any internet-accessible device for data retrieval, and she's got it. Lucy introduces Larry to Small Biz Pro, and now Larry is more organized and can now find all of his documents and new bid opportunities in seconds. Larry now saves $120 in labor costs for each missing or misplaced document. Just simply go to your web browser and log into smallbizpro.net and register today for a limited 30-day free trial offer. Services start as low as $1 per day. Let's put the competition out of business. Small Biz Pro. If you stay ready, you don't need to get ready. Register now at smallbizpro.net and begin saving money. Email info@smallbizpro.net or call 626-533-1186.
The Business Zone with Crystal, Gilbert, and Don, and they're not here, but I have Alisha and Bever-leigh. So we were talking about just women and the power of women and us taking the lead, but most importantly, one of the things that Alisha said when we were at break was that it's so important, women, that you make the time to change, to continue to grow, to continue to, because nothing is promised in this world except for your taxes and the fact you're going to die black. If you started out that way, that's the way you're going to go. But death and taxes, those are the most important things that's not going to change, but you can change along the way. You know, I went to school. I started out entrepreneurial. Being an entrepreneur was always there because my parents were, my grandparents were, and it's part of who we are, right? But when I went to school, I said, okay, I'm going to own a nursery school. That's what I'm going to school for. Well, let me back up. There was a change prior to that. When I was in New York, I was going to become a doctor, so pre-med. Mm-hmm. And when I turned 16, my parents said, we're divorcing. Wow. Okay, well, that's going to make some changes, right? So my mom said, we're leaving and we're going to the other side of the country to get away from him. And so now my mom is a single parent with 3 children, all teens, and have to go to another state to work and probably, not going to make the money she was making when she was, because she's a nurse, and which is true. And so she had to adapt her life. So my life had to readapt. So medical school, by the time I'm 16, I can't be thinking, how the heck I'm going to do that in another state? And I have no connection. She has no connection. Right. So that is not going to happen. So then I was like, okay, well, I was going to be a pediatrician. So that was working with children. So now I need to do something else with kids. So I'll own a nursery school. So I'm tooling, going to school and getting ready for that. And then it's like, wait a minute. A bulb went off and said, so you have to be there from 6 in the morning to 7 o'clock at night.
With kids.
Maybe not.
With kids.
That you may not like.
That you may not like, all day long, going and screaming at the children. And what brought that light bulb was, I was a Girl Scout leader, and we would have to just put all kinds of constraints in. Pick your children up at this time. Don't go shopping. Don't go get your nails done. Come pick up your kids. And thinking,
they're so happy you have them.
I know. It's like, okay, this could be my life. No, we ain't doing this. So I went into the financial planning industry. I go to work at 8. I'm out by 5.
Yeah, that's what you have to think about, your lifestyle.
Yeah. I think my mother went into teaching because she figured she'd have the summer off.
Oh, is that why? Yeah, so you have to make strategic decisions for the things you're going to do.
You always have to make a strategic decision. You have to look. And sometimes you may get in it. You may not see that out in front.
Right, exactly.
And then you may get in it. But then stay aware once you're in it.
Right.
Stay aware. And realize, I'm not feeling this right now. And make a turn.
And make a turn.
You're always going to come to that intersection. Don't be afraid to make that turn.
Yeah. Well, now I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. And so when I started getting heavily involved in it and, went to medical school and I realized, wait a minute, people die.
That's right. I'm not
I don't want to be around dead people.
That's not the career I think I want.
And you're really not going to want to tell their loved ones.
Right, exactly. The worst part is
and so I did research and I had to work on rats. And when it was time for me to have to kill my rats, I was like, no, these are like my pets. And the doctor I worked for said, now how are you supposed to be a doctor?
All of that dissecting and everything.
You can't kill the rat.
You can't deal with that. So there went the change. I had to change my tune.
Well, that's the thing about it. And, I wrote this, like I was saying, I wrote this book, You Can Change the World. And I kept repeating, change is the only thing that does it.
Yeah.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
Going to happen. So you may as well embrace it.
Right.
You may as well master it, at least for your own life.
Yeah.
And go out there and see what you can do to change the world for the better. When you see something that looks like it needs an improvement, it's not always for somebody else to do.
Yes.
Right, exactly. Sometimes
it might be for you to take what you have. And that may seem inadequate. It may seem small. It may seem trite to you at a moment. But you never know. You never know how the smallest thing that you do is going to change somebody else, who's going to change somebody else.
I mean, just the example of Facebook. All he was doing that for was for his college.
Exactly.
Right. To be able to have a conversation with each other at school. And look how it's changed the world.
And when you think about it, even a smile. Sometimes people walk out in the street and you don't know what they might do. You smile at them and it changes their day. And they go on to change somebody else's day and somebody else's day. And it's an exponential thing that happens. It can be a very tiny thing or it can be something huge.
Yeah.
Well,
but that smile could be you meet someone who actually has your next opportunity. And because you stopped and smiled, you started talking to them, and from that conversation, you learned more about something that was going to benefit you or them. I mean, a smile can open up so many doors.
That's it. You just have to have that positive intent, and you have to keep working. A lot of people, like you were saying before, a lot of people, they just want to dream. There's some people who don't dream anymore.
Right.
I meet 20-year-olds and they've stopped dreaming, and to me that's so tragic.
Oh, it's so sad.
But and then there are people and they're 89 and they had this dream and then they never made the dream into a goal, into task, into work, into accomplishment, and then something happens that's real and manifests in the world and has an impact on their own lives and on the lives of others. So that's the whole thing about it. You have to get it into your head first. And but an idea is just an idea.
Yeah. Right. I have a workshop that I do where I teach people it has to be faith, focus, and fire. Yeah. So fire is the action. If you don't put some fire under your butt, then you won't have the action and your dream will just sit there.
It will die.
If you don't have the faith meaning either, what I tell people a lot is that they go into corporate America and they leave their faith at the door. Take it with you.
Right.
You have to take it, and that's what we're always saying on the blend, that you have your, it's your spirit, your mind, and your body. You have to put all those things together into one, because none of them is going to work without the other.
Right.
Exactly.
And then you have to focus, because sometimes people want to jump around and have 50 things going on, and then they wonder why they're not doing well in any of them. It takes focus on something.
You gotta commit to something.
And
then make it grow, and then from there grow into something else. But
I know. I've said to my mother so many times. Because my mom thinks in what my dad called the big picture, and I'm constantly saying, "Focus, Mom, focus." And I know. And then the other day we were out and we were coming out of a store, and she said something and it was way over, in left field from what our original intent of where we were going to go next. And I said, "But Mom," and she says, "I know, focus. Mom, focus."
But look how many people say, you know, especially in corporate America, right? As entrepreneurs, we don't ever retire. But most people in corporate America, they're looking for when they retire, right? When I retire, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. When I retire, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z.
I'm going to finally live.
Right, I'm going to finally live. Like, what, you've been dead all these years?
That's it.
Right.
And you will be.
Right.
Yeah.
You will be unless you make that conscious choice. And that's what we're always saying on the show. Consciously make that next choice, because it is your choice. And don't let anything in the world fool you into thinking that it's not your choice, because everything is your choice. It's our choice to be here together. It's your choice to do this show. And that has given us the opportunity to come with you and share your dream and be in your dream. Just like, you know, on the show we share Lavanda's dream, just like on your
Bella
show, you know, on the Bella. All people are coming there to share in that dream. And if you don't have the dream in the first place and follow the dream and let the dream dictate.
And as you say, create the activate the dream, put the fire under the dream. But so many, so when they waiting to live, and then the day they retire, and then the next day they die. It's like, whoa,
where did it go?
What happened? So you can't be putting stuff off. You never know what's around the corner for you. So you
see people, they retire and then they end up in a wheelchair and they're trying to live out their their retirement in a wheelchair.
Right, because
I say live it every day.
Live it every single day.
And every single moment.
Every moment.
Be present right here. Like we're present with each other right now. Right. Imagine if we're thinking about, oh, I got to do the laundry. Oh, do I have to get gas on the way home? Oh, for the people who have kids. Oh, do I have kids?
Right, exactly.
Oh, and I have to do tomorrow. What am I going to have to do when I get home? Oh, I got to turn the computer on. I mean, there's a million things. And that's a lot of the way we live our lives sometimes. Yeah. We take everything and try to do it at the same time. And we're not present in the beauty of the moment. Like when you're driving your car, you're so busy trying to get to work, you don't see, oh, there are the mountains. Look how beautiful they are. Look at the sky. Look how beautiful it is. Wow, you know. And then somebody can drive up, you know, you come to a light and you look over and there's somebody and they smile at you and you smile back, you know. Oh, look at those flowers, you know, the light
But you know, statistically they say that people who do that are more prosperous in all parts of their life. Yeah. And so if you take time to, you know, go to the spa or relax, you're usually more prosperous in what you're doing because you're able to stop and think and focus in on what's going on versus those people who are always busy, you know, running.
And a lot of times they bear that because they feel guilty about that, right? Yeah. Like they feel guilty of taking time out for self. You know, I have very specific things that I take time out for me. And I get a little irritated when I have to infringe in that special space,
on that time
space because that's time that I've created, and that's how I'm creative. Is when I'd be able to take downtime away, and you know, as a business coach, you know, I'm absorbing. It's like being a psychologist. You're absorbing everybody else's problems. If they have urgencies, then, you know, of course they want to project those urgencies out on you. And you're like, okay, you're making my world crazy right about now. And just because you're nuts, I'm not nuts. So you have to be able to know how to push it back and say, okay, and set the boundaries. You have to sometimes help people. My
friend is big on that. Bev, boundaries. It's another B. It's another B. Boundaries. She's like, Bev, you have to set boundaries or these people will bleed you dry. And I'm like, I think the people have already bled me dry.
You have to add comedian to your
you know, sometimes when I'm being the most serious is when people are just cracking up so loudly. And sometimes I'm thinking, I didn't even know that's funny. But you know, that's what you were talking about before about the focus and everything. That's one great thing that coming over from being in front of the camera has done behind the camera. Because as co-executive producer, I have a million people coming. We're on the set, and as the director. And so there's a million people coming, so you have to learn to know, okay, I got to go down this road right now, and you have to see it through. Okay, somebody asked me, you know, about the wardrobe. I have to get the. So if somebody comes over and asks me about whatever, I got to have that in the back of my mind. Right now, I have to really focus on what are these girls going to look like when they're all out there together. What are these beautiful women? Okay, I'm focused on that right now. So then, but that's packed in the back of my head. But I'm not going there until it's time to go there.
Now, that's a really important topic that is really critical that we learn as a community because, you know, for years we've declared multitasking as this top skill. And it's not a skill. It's a way of failure because you can't, you know, just like a computer, you know, computers are actually able to learn quicker than us, but they still have to recalculate and refocus. And so every time you do something new, your whole brain has to refocus. And so it pulls stuff away, and it actually is harder to complete all those tasks when you're jumping around and you're trying to multitask.
I've had a good background in it because all my career I have been on camera or I've been off camera doing something else or I've been writing. And so I've had to learn, okay, I have that audition.
So you focus and then refocus.
I'm in the computer. And I'm watching all these people, you know what I mean? Because especially when I'm in the fiction mode, I'm writing a book now, a mystery thriller, short stories.
How fun.
So when I'm in the fiction mode and I'm home, and basically it's like Lionel Richie said one time that he felt kind of guilty that he wins these awards because he has this radio station in his head and he just has to play the music and write it down and sing it. So he felt kind of guilty, you know, that God gave it to him and, you know, it's just there.
You don't have, it just comes naturally.
Exactly. So it's like me. I have like this movie in my mind or this book in my mind or whatever, this story in my mind, and all I have to do is, you know, when the blank page is there, I just have to put somebody on that blank page and then she starts talking, then somebody else is talking to her. So I basically have to just watch the movie in my mind. I have to listen to what they're saying and just write it down. And sometimes I can't go fast enough to write it down for what it is that they're doing. So when I'm in that mode, I'm completely engrossed and I'm completely engaged.
Focused.
But when that alarm goes off,
then you
and I have to get up, and I may be in my total skivvies, you know what I mean? And I know, now I got to glamour girl. I got to glam up. I got to get in that shower, and once I'm in that shower, I got to completely turn my mind around and go in a completely different mode. You know what I mean? I'm not in my sweats with no makeup on. I have to completely, and the whole time that I'm driving there, I can't be thinking about, and I've had to do that my whole career. So I'm sort of used to switching gears.
But that's perfect. Because that's not multitasking. You're not trying to do all three of them all at once.
And
which is what a lot of people try to do.
I figure even if I'm doing the laundry, while I'm cooking something, when I'm at that stove, I'm doing that right there.
You're doing the stove.
And I'm not thinking about that laundry until I hear that bing, 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 and then I'm like, But while I'm doing the laundry, I'm trying to do the laundry the best I can. I'm not even thinking about, that there's cooking. Of course, that can be problematic. You may burn some pots when you do that. But even if you're, what people think of as multitasking, you still have to be in the moment that you're in the moment when you're in that moment.
Right,
exactly.
Yeah, and I'm, that's the same thing. And now all my businesses that I do, they're all in the same wheelbase, right? So it's just like taking a hat off, still doing the same thing, but always have them working. They're working simultaneously because it's all the same process. But I do so my creativity happens, say if I have to speak somewhere or have to present something or I'm training, the night before when I'm sleeping, it all comes through. And then the next morning, there it is. And then I have to remember it. And then I go to write down the key points. And then I know exactly what I'm going to say.
The shower is another great place for that.
Yeah.
Somehow it's like a baptism. I'm in there and then I get all these ideas and I'm thinking, I can't wait. I actually have had to put a whiteboard in my bathroom.
Oh, really? So you can write
so
down
as soon as I get out of the shower.
Yeah, you can write
stuff down.
Oh, that's
cool. That's a good idea, huh?
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
That is good.
Yeah, and she's that way too, especially since the Bella Network. Because when she's putting on, we finally forced her to put it into a guide. But for the last 2 years, 3 years, she has it in her head, and we're like, okay, what do we need to do? But it's in my head, and so wait a minute, I can't tell y'all right now. So we forced her this go round to put it down, so we'll have specific tasks that we'll know, and she's kind of mapped out because she has a vision of what she wants at the conferences.
Right.
And so we then have to get in her head to know what that is so we can do it the way she likes. So so she did some growing this last conference.
And these things kind of tend to go by. It's even like on the show, we have these things called action steps that we just put them at the end of our on segments because you get into the conversation like we are now. And you get into the conversation and there may be a ton of things. Like sometimes I'm watching them and I'm thinking, oh, that was so profound. You know what I mean?
Yeah, forget.
Really. And it's coming out of the mouth. Or it's something that they just came up with in the moment.
Right.
That is their brilliant thing. And I'm thinking, wow, I need to process that. You know, I really need to think about that. And so we thought about that. And Lavanda's like, we used to call them takeaways. And Lavanda's like, you know, very on it, you know. We have to have those at the end of segments so people can remember what were the jewels of things because sometimes so much goes on. Like we're talking right now and I'm learning so much from you guys.
Yeah.
You know, I love you guys. I've known you like for what, an hour and a half or something like that?
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, don't be surprised if you see me in the rearview mirror on the way when you're driving home.
Okay.
You're not going to get rid of me now.
Yeah, we love you too.
We learned that really early. So at the end of our conference, we have one of our participants, one of the Bella Network Bellas, she'll come on and she summarizes the whole conference.
So nice.
Right.
And from a psychological perspective, from a business perspective, she's really good at it. And so she sits the whole time and takes notes, and then she comes out and does, you know, here's what the kind of takeaways.
Yeah, she'll even put it in a song.
Yeah, she does a
She'll have
song.
a music. She'll have selected a
that's so
song.
nice.
She's really
that
good
really
at it.
that ties into it. Her whole family is very creative, and that's her creativity is just.
Well, I'll have to go there, and I'm a front row girl. I can tell you guys are front row girls. Too.
Yeah.
You know, these people that walk in their classroom and they're like,
then they go to the back.
Yeah, no, we're right there.
No, what's the point? No, I even got stuck being the. What do you call that? The forewoman on the jury.
Oh, really?
Because everybody saw me just taking notes. Yeah. I didn't even want to be on the jury. Okay, I had jury duty. I didn't even want to be on the jury.
But then
and when the judge said, "Okay, that's our jury," you know, that's our 12, and I was like, "Wait a minute, the man's closing the door here, and I'm still sitting inside." Of the door.
Wait a minute, am I one of the 12?
I thought I had given him every excuse in the world. And then to make it even more mortifying, they said they wanted me to be the foreperson, and then I was like. Seriously? But then I think I realized it was because, you know, I take notes. Yeah.
Well, we didn't come up to our hour.
Oh, have
I know.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
I know. So what do you have? So when is the next show?
Well, our show is always streaming. We're on Facebook at The Blend Talk Show. So please join us. We are at theblendtalk.com. Also, we are on, let's see, that's on Facebook. It's The Blend Talk Show. And we are also on Instagram at The Blend Talk Show. And we're with you 24/7. We have episodes in the can that you can stream. You can go back. You can binge, which I love to do on shows, on Netflix and these different things. But you can binge us. And we have new episodes coming up. And we'll be coming on Wednesday evenings at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. 4 o'clock on the West Coast, and we just want you to join us. We want you to be in our tribe. We want you to be in our Girl Clutch. We want you to learn and be a part of the movement, and we want you to support other ladies like the ladies that I'm on with today who have wonderful things going, and support each other.
Yeah.
Okay, and
So we have our Christmas party coming up. We're going to be doing that with Keeping It 100 and a few other professional organizations, and that's on December 6th. You can find it on Facebook. You can find it on Eventbrite. You can find it on our website. And then on December 12th, we're going to do a In the Black event. It's going to have to pull out your little black dress, and we're going to have a fabulous time there, meeting women from all around Southern California.
Invite us.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and so the Business Zone is here every Friday afternoon from 3 to 5. Let's see what I have going on. I have one of my members in one of the Crenshaw Yoga and Dance, where I do my burlesque class and my Zumba class and everything else that I do there. We are having a Christmas party on December 15th. Prior to the Christmas party, we're going to do our burlesque performance, so you're welcome to come out. So we have tickets at $25, and Crenshaw Yoga and Dance is at 50 It's at 54th and Crenshaw, and that's going to be, the show starts at 6 o'clock and the party starts at 8 o'clock. So you want to get your tickets. It's called the second annual Christmas Ball on Crenshaw Boulevard. Wow. So it's for all those of us that are part of the studio and anyone that lives in the community, the Crenshaw district. We would love to have you come out. You get to dress up in your Christmas finery and help us celebrate the holidays.
That is great. We're the 3 Bs. The Blend Talk Show,
the Business Zone,
and the Bella Network.
And so we are out, and we will see you next. Oh, no. Next week is Thanksgiving. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. We won't be here at the studio. We'll be back on November 30th, which is the last Friday of the month. So we'll see you then. Enjoy your turkey.
Enjoy your turkey and do everything with love. Remember, we love you. Do everything with love.
All righty. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
As a small biz pro, I so we roll, using procurement, program, and control. As a small biz pro, I so we grow, using procurement, program, and control. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Oh yeah, I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Oh yeah, I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Oh yeah. Crystal Mitchell, do you have my business plan? Just review the pages of my marketing plan. Crystal Mitchell, do you have my business plan? Just review the pages of my marketing plan. Got my capability statement, yes, I'm ready to go. Got my balance sheet, my P&L, my statement of cash flow. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Oh yeah. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Oh yeah. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur.